Hi everybody, welcome back to 30 Days Until Done. We're working on our new month, the month of September. Welcome to September. And what we're doing is we've done ekphrastic poetry in the past, if you've been following along. And I was talking to Jean this summer, and she said she really liked doing the ekphrastic. It was something different, and I think that's true for a lot of people. In the past, we just kind of randomly took ekphrastic poems. What I'd like to do now is focus on one artist. He's a very popular, well-known artist, but I don't think as popular as he should be. His name's Paul Klee, spelled K-L-E-E. And he was part of the Bauhaus movement. He was oppressed by Hitler, and he was he's one of my favorite artists, probably my second favorite after Annie. And he's just his vision of the world is just beautiful to me. So what are we doing in this? Why are we doing this? Well, we're trying to prime that muse as much as possible, and also I just kind of like to talk about Paul Klee. And you want to focus and do just one concept for a while, so that you can start drawing out things you never thought you would have drawn out. And it could be that we end up with, or if you do this all month, that you're going to end up with 30 great poems, or it could be that of those 30 great poems, you're really only getting to the meat and the substance around day 26. And finally it's like, oh, that's what I want to say. And you end up with a couple of really great poems because you've done the work that you need to do to get there, right? And that's something we don't talk very much about on 30 Days Until Done. By we, I mean me. It's sometimes, you're not going to get 30 stellar poems because it takes a while to get to that place where you can get the thing that you want to say by focusing on it. So I can't tell you how many poems I've just thrown away because it's like, okay, well that was interesting, but it's not really where I want to be, right? That's not the poem. And so maybe that's what it's going to take here, or maybe you get 30 good poems, or maybe you get 20 good poems, right? Or maybe 10, But anyway, we're going to work on Paul Klee this month, and we're going to start. Okay, let me back up here. What is ekphrasis? Ekphrasis, all the arts, is a cultural conversation. Arts are always a conversation about what it is that we see in our lives. Someone was asking me yesterday, the day before, I was teaching American Lit, and I'm teaching before 1900, American Lit before 1900, and said, well, could we legitimately include somebody like Gore Vidal, who's writing about the period before 1900? No, because he's having conversation. And his conversation is to us and to the future. It's not to the past, right? And the things he's saying are relevant to us, even though he's talking about the past, right? He's really talking to us. He's not talking about the past, he's talking about the present. And that's what's going on. And he's taking all those novels that were done before, and he's putting a spin on it. He's saying, maybe you've got it wrong, or maybe the circumstances have changed. Here's what we have to say about the past now. You can think of that as Mark Twain too. What a lot of people miss about Mark Twain, because we're looking at him in the 21st century, is that a lot of what he was writing were historical novels. He wasn't writing about his present tense. He was writing about the past. He was writing about the age of Jackson, right? And he said, this is what I have to say about slavery days, right? Even though we're not in slavery days anymore, right? I'm going to talk about what was going on past this. Now, that's what ekphrastic poetry is. Paul Klee has said something, and you're going to disagree with him, or you're going to agree with him, or you're going to put your own new spin on it. You're going to have to keep having a conversation. Paul Klee has a very individual take on whatever it he's looking at. His take is unique, right? And so it's sometimes difficult with that. It's going to take a little while to get started here, because it's not like this is a picture of horses. This is abstract, this is individual, this is interesting. One of the things I like about Paul Klee is how complex his view of the world is. Also, generally, how beautiful it is. He's someone he's a glass half full kind of guy living in the Bauhaus at the time of the Nazis. I mean, that takes quite a person to see joy in there. But he was able to. We're going to take today a look at a painting called Twittering Machine, and that's it's a picture of those birds and things. There's really no way to explain it abstractly. I think I'd probably, for me, this is a painting about nature, and it's about the intersection of nature and humanity, man-made nature made things coming together all at once, right? And I think if I were doing that, I would talk to him about, I've done this as well. This is the fascination for me. Ann used to work at Disneyland. Ann's my wife, if you don't know me. Ann used to work at Disneyland, and which means when we were first dating, we went to Disneyland a lot. And you can go to Disneyland maybe 3 times and enjoy the rides. Well, I mean, if you're me, you can. But after that, it's like, okay, it's a free date, but what are we going to do here? And so we started looking at things like, okay, how do the birds live in Disneyland? What is the social interaction of birds? And so you look up and see how they're nesting and how they're moving and that's kind of interesting, right? How does the nature adapt to the place? So if I were writing this poem, that's probably where I'd go with this, right? Paul Klee is taking a look at how the twittering machine exists in his world. How does it exist in my world? And now I say now, within the last 25 years, man, we've been dating. Wow. Okay, so there's been the introduction of parrots into the Los Angeles area, and there are these huge flocks of parrots. I think just people letting them go because parrots live for a long time, and so eventually they escape and they go off and they do this stuff. So how do the parrots? You've got these parrots from the jungle someplace, and now they're living in Disneyland, and it's just kind of strange to see this whole thing. My poem would be a very long one, I think, a long narrative poem. But whatever you like, you like, right? So maybe yours is just a discussion of that painting, right? Mine is a discussion about how nature is doing exactly what Paul Klee was saying, whatever it is. Anyway, when you're done with that, put us down below. A lot of you have just been sending it to me directly. That's fine. John M. Branningham at AOL.com, and we'll talk about it. All right, I'll see you later.